Hey everybody, Brandon here from the Vancouver Pupps and Oko, here for another workshop, and today we're going to be working on Oko's eyes. Yes, this is the third workshop that we have done on Oko's eyes because I have a new design for an eye mech that I want to work on and see if that works. Yeah, because I'm really trying to perfect this eye mechanism. See, even right now I'm having a bit of trouble with the last design, and this was the last design that we did. You can look in the playlist, the workshop playlist, to find the last workshop we did on the eyes. And this is how good we got. You see how his eyes are sort of moving? It's a little crude, but it has kind of worked. And the only problem is that you can watch the episode to see how I designed these, but each of the eyes are sort of worked independently with my pinky and forefinger. And there's a little, the eyelid goes down through there and it pivots on the foam, and there's a little ring attached to a part of the wire that comes down. And my fingers are sort of fitting through those rings to move the eyes. And it sort of has been okay for now, but it's a little difficult for me to get my fingers up and work it really well. I guess my fingers just aren't that long. It's just a little bit difficult, but I want to make it less difficult. So what I want to do is, I'm hoping to bring the mechanism that moves the eyes down to the plate, down to the mouth plate. So here is, it's kind of, I know this doesn't really, probably won't make much sense, but this was the design that we're going to be working on today. This is sort of, this arch is the foam, and then this is the mouth plate. So basically what we're going to do is, this is the eyelid, and we're going to be making a little switch here that'll be connected to the part of the eye that comes through on the and pivots on the foam. And I'm hoping, and that's nice and flat where my other two fingers are, because these middle two fingers in here are what's moving the mouth up and down. I'm just trying to make this better. Anyway, this is kind of hard to see. I have all the parts ready. I'm going to switch the camera view now so that it's looking downwards, and I'll show you all the parts that I have worked on already, and we'll just finish assembling this, and I'll be able to explain more about how this is all going to work. Yeah, when we're looking down at what we got here, okay? All right, so here's the crude design. I mean, this made sense to me. When I'm coming up with a new idea, I just try and sketch it out just so I can kind of understand. But anyway, here's the mouth plate. So here is the top mouth plate that I've done out of a balsa wood. So nice and thin, but very strong. I normally use posters, kind of like corrugated plastic sign posters to make the mouth plates, and I strengthen it with popsicle sticks usually to make it nice and stiff and rigid. But I just thought, since I'm going to need a very strong base to create this, I thought I would just use something a little stronger. So yeah, this is going to be the first Oko with a wooden mouth plate for the top mouth plate. Now, how this is going to work is, here are these little switches that I've created, which is basically a popsicle stick with a little part of leather for a finger loop, and then there's a wire connected to it here. When I originally did this, I had actual metal hinges attached to these, but that didn't work very well with the particle board on the test that I did. So I'm trying to make the hinge a little easier by making it just a piece of leather that we fold over. So here is the mouth plate with, I already have a leather loop here that my hand will fit in here. So that's how I'm going to be moving the mouth plate. But then these areas, I've marked these two spots here, which is where these switches are going to go. So how this is going to work is, this leather strip will just be folded and it'll be glued here. So my finger, this will be for my pinky, this one. So my pinky should be able to move this up and down like that. So that's the first step. Here's the one for the forefinger. So that'll be glued down like that, and this will be glued down like that. So that's what I've created. Now these wires, they have to be trimmed down once they're inside the head, but they are going to be attached to the eye mech. So this is the eye mech. I got 2 of them here. And these are what are going to be poked through the head, through the back. They're going to be poked through. They come out on each side of the eyelid here. And that gets pivoted. That's how the eye moves. This is the little switch in the back that moves and pivots. And these will be bent and arched because the eyelid for Oko is an arch. So those will be eventually bent, and then they'll be attached. But we don't do that until we've sent them through the foam. Now this is just this little piece of wire is just temporarily here because I wanted to show. So see how this is all coming together here? So this is going to be, this wire is basically going to go through here. So this is theoretically how it's going to work. I'm going to be manipulating this. And this wire will be the same as this wire. This should be able to move the eyelid like that. So basically what I'm just trying to do is, we already have pieces like this that are in there, but there's just a little ring on the end here that my finger is on. And I have to reach for it, and it's really difficult. So I'm just trying to bring all of that energy down to here, basically, for lack of a better word. Now, I'm not a professionally trained engineer or anything, so I don't even know if this is going to work at all, but this is what we're going to try and do. So that's it. That's how I'm hoping this is all going to work. And then, so basically what I have to do is I have to first we have to glue these down. Then once that's done, then this mouth plate will be glued into the head. And I have a head here that's all ready to go. The bottom plate is already in. It's all ready for the top. So once that's glued in, then we will put the eyes through. And then what I have to do is, I have to feed this wire. I'll have to feed this wire through it and adjust it to the right length. And then I can trim this wire. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. That's how this is all going to work. So the first thing I need to do is glue these little switches that I've created onto the top mouth plate. So I'll do that right now. And we'll do that with contact cement. All right, so here's the mouth plate now complete with it glued on. Yeah, I see originally I had, these were the switches I had, and I was, for the fingers. This one and this one. But, and I was using these little tiny hinges. But the wood is just so thin, I didn't like how things were sticking through. It was difficult to attach things and screw things. So I decided to try and make this more simple. So that's why I just thought, I've never used leather as a hinge before, but hopefully that holds. And then this is sort of how it's going to work. Here's the mouth plate, and then here's the eyes. And these wires, which will be folded over, bent over, and trimmed down, will operate the eyes. So hopefully this works. So there it is, guys. Instead of having to reach for rings that are attached to the eyes with my forefinger and pinky, hopefully these little switches will just work better. So there we are. So now the next step is I'm going to need to glue this into the head. So I'm going to do that now. All right, so I've gotten to the stage where the mouth plate is in and the triggers are ready to be sort of set. But what I wanted to do is, these are just temporarily in, the eyes. I just wanted to mark where the eyes needed to go. They have to go on after the fabric is on, of course, the fur. But I just wanted to set the eyes to make sure they're in the right spot and mark the spots from the back on the inside of the foam as well. And I've also marked on the inside of the foam where these eyes are actually going to be the other way. I just stuck them through this way so that I could mark on the inside of the foam again where those spots are. And we can see them here. I'll show you. I cut a hole in the back so we could just open things up a little bit. I don't know. This might be kind of difficult to show. Here, I might have to set this up. Hold on. All right, so this should be better. So here's the inside. I cut a slot just in the back for now so that I could get in there and see things. I can always seal that with contact cement. So here's the inside. Oh my God, it's a little chaotic in here with all the wires, but basically, I don't know if this makes any sense or if you can even see this, but anyway, I'm going to take these out now. These are going to come out and then go in this way and poke through where I've indicated on those holes. And then when these are through, then I can curve these. But like I said, what I have to do now, I have to take these eyes off as well, and I have to put the fur on. And then I'm going to put everything back. The eyes go in this way, and then these go in this way. Yeah. And then we'll be ready to connect these two and see if this all works. Okay, so we're done for our little experiment for the day, and it has been a really interesting experiment, and it's been mixed results. So as you can see, I'm moving the switches, and they're not moving very well. If I move my hand in a particular way, I can sort of get the mechanism to start to work. There's the left eye, and here's my pinky on the right eye. But I think I think the design is working. But what I need to do is just refine the parts. Oh, by the way, this isn't a completed head, obviously. Normally, Oko would have a little tuft of feathers on his head here, and he would have a tongue. But this was just, like I said, a sample that I was, this was just an experiment that I was sort of like testing out. But yeah, so I take my hand out a little bit here and see if I move the switches a little more dramatically, I can get a little more movement out of the eyes. But anyway, like I said, I think that the design is working, but what I need to do is, I need all of the parts to be a little more tight, because right now, everything that's in there is just really very loosey-goosey, kind of like the wires are very haphazardly kind of like all being like held together just by being sort of like bent by, you know, very crudely in there and being held together with some tape. But what I think I'm going to do is work a little bit more on this design. And what I'm going to do is take these parts out, I think, and then make the parts individually before it all goes in there, and have all the little parts a little more tightened up so that things will just be a little more tight and the gears are just going to be moving a little bit more fluidly in there than they are. Because like I say, things are just like loose in there, and even though the effect is kind of working, in the long run, this is not going to cut it. This isn't even better than the last design as far as I'm concerned. The eyelids moved way more when I just reached my fingers up to grab the little ring that was attached to the connector. But anyway, like I said, it was a good learning experience. That's what these workshops are all about. So like I say, I think what I'm going to do next, I promise there will be a workshop on IMX4. That's just what this means. Because what I think I'm going to do is, when I get some time, is I'm going to open this up and take a look at those parts and make them a little more strong and a little more secure. The other weak part in there is definitely those leather hinges that I made. I don't think that was a very good idea, having those just leather hinges, because like I say, everything is just kind of like moving around there too much. Right? But there we go. There's another little iMech workshop, another little experiment that I don't think we've seen the end of this one. I think that I'll try to, yeah, get a little more out of this, because I think that we're onto something here. I really do like the idea of being able to move the eyes a little more easily with some sort of mech attached to the mouth plate, all right? So we'll have a little follow-up to this video eventually, all right? That'll be in a future workshop, right? That's going to be everything for now, so thank you all for watching today's workshop. I'm Brandon from the Vancouver Pups. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next workshop. Have yourselves a good day. Bye for now.